Well, what's going on, guys? This is Carl with the Racerred channel. How have you guys been doing? What have you been up to? I'm just riding my mighty DRZ400S, and I'm looking for some areas to explore. I keep seeing people ride their Razors, side-by-sides, whatever you want to call them, up here. So there's got to be some area to explore, and I'm going to go check it out. This is where I shoot guns quite a bit, and I think a lot of the locals do. Off to the left here, if I look down here and there's nobody, then I just go down that way. Great spot for shooting. You even have some long-range stuff down there. It's a very, very good spot. But if there's anybody down there, then I just keep driving up to this spot up here. And this is where we need laws, because I think that, you know, I've made videos in the past where I'm very anti enforcement of most things. And look at this. Somebody came in here and cleaned up everybody's trash. Somebody came in here and cleaned up, they had a big old mattress and a pile of trash here. See, whoever puts all this trash here should be freaking arrested. But somebody came in here and did a really good job. There were 3 mattresses in here. They even went through this pile here and cleaned it all up. Good on whoever did that. So I was in here shooting last week, and I expect people who throw junk in here to be driving a beat up jalopy, and probably either kids or some guy who lives in a shack. And while I was shooting, a nice big red diesel truck pulled in with trash, and he saw me and then sped away. But it was a big, nice red diesel pickup, and actually I want to go the other direction, hopefully without getting run over. It surprises me. It really does surprise me that people will do that, but somebody came in and cleaned it up, so man, good on whoever did that. My point has always been, though, that you shouldn't outlaw people coming here and shooting just because there's a few gigantic douchebags. Alright, so I see side-by-sides often here on the left. A couple of cows moved away from me. Usually cows don't even acknowledge my existence. I've seen it used before for shutting trails down, and these cows probably aren't used to seeing a motorcycle, really, but so they kind of run a little, some of them run a little bit away, but generally on a trail designated for riding motorcycles, the cows are used to you and they just don't even move, like that guy. I'm gonna check my map. Good old Onyx off-road map. A lot of people come out here to shoot, it seems to me, but this is quite the distance. You can travel out here. Yeah, a lot of people come out here to shoot, something that I enjoy doing as well. I have found that the gun community is a bit bougie, I guess you would, I don't know, they value expensive, very expensive things, and there's really no benefit to a lot of it. The parts on a gun are pretty basic. You could build like an AR platform for like $500. It would be plenty reliable. A $500 AR, I think this was a PSA as well, and instead of just doing straight blowout test, like full auto, just one round after another, they shot it a whole bunch in a row, but they let it cool down and all that stuff. Gave it an opportunity to actually not burn up. It lasted 6,000 rounds, which is pretty spectacular. And that's just basic parts. And then people's next thing would be the accuracy, and that's going to depend on your barrel and your bolt carrier group. And of course, you're going to be able to increase your accuracy a little bit, especially in extreme conditions. But nowadays, all the metals are good, and the fitment is also good. In fact, sometimes the fitment on low-end stuff is better than that of the high-end stuff, oddly enough. In the gun world, it seems that people often demand the most expensive stuff, which is silly to me. And the cost of things really doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up with what you're getting. I watched an interview with the owner of PSA and how he started. He explained how he started, and he said that his cost, what he charges for rifles, he makes high-end rifles, which his Saberline is very high-end. I don't care what anybody says. He was saying that his cost when he got into the market, he just realized was really low. And he's like, it's not like I'm not making a profit, he said. He basically just explained that everybody else is marking their stuff up way more than they need to. And I would agree. I mean, for what you get, like, you get a barrel, it's just a little piece of metal. I mean, sure, there is precision, and that's what everybody's probably going to say, is there's precision, and then there's different metallurgy and coatings that they use. That still doesn't justify these massive prices. Doesn't really make sense to me. And if you're talking about getting a tight MOA, then you must be a way better shooter than me. And I've put a lot of bullets downrange through my entire life. I have shot lots of bullets. Seems to me that you would need to be a professional, and there aren't very many professionals. If a gun doesn't have a very tight MOA, then it's probably doing you a favor, because it's probably put you back on target half the time. The guns can definitely outshoot me most of the time, unless you put a gigantic scope on there and you're talking a sniper rifle that's beyond 600 yards. A 308, a 12-inch 308 is pretty accurate at 600 yards. That's pretty much its maximum, though. So another aspect of the tactical, I guess, combat rifle community that I've been seeing is that people tend to over-accessorize. And I like to accessorize, but, I mean, one thing I can't do without is a bipod. I have to have a bipod on there. But I break the rule of being fast first, light is fast. I break that all the time because I really like having a bipod. It helps stabilize the gun in a lot of different situations. But I've run guns with the front handle before, and one thing I learned while crawling around with a gun, so one of my first experiences training with a fake gun, and you had to learn how to crawl with it basically without lifting your head at all. You had to tilt your head and keep it in the sand, and you had to learn how to move like a snake with your gun. And if you have a front handle, I found that dug into everything. That front handle is really cumbersome. And I know a bipod isn't a ton better, but a bipod is so beneficial that I find that it's something that I put on there because it is beneficial. But and it doesn't dig in like a front handle does. Once you try to get low and start moving really low, that stupid thing gets in the way. So I don't like them. The ones at a 45 I am okay with. I've run a couple of those and they work pretty good. I feel like a lot of people haven't really run the gun like it would be run, I guess, if you were in battle. So, most people I think go to the range on flat ground. Even the tactical, like the YouTube channels I've watched, they're all on flat, perfectly surfaced ground, and they run around the different barrels and stuff, which is fine until you're in the sagebrush on uneven ground and you have to learn how to do combat in that environment where you can't just lay down with no obstructions because there's tall grass and sagebrush all around. And then there's barriers that are purpose-built for the gun. I don't like a lot of what the tactical community offers because it's all purpose-built stuff. In the real world, it's all dirty in the real world. There's this crap to my right. That's what you're going to deal with. And you have to be careful about what you do with your barrel. The first thing I did, I don't even think I made my point earlier about crawling through the sand. It was part of the course for that day. Really, really brutal training. I was in bad shape by this time of the training, but well, the first thing I did when I got to that section of the course is I fell, and the butt of the gun stuck into the ground, and I hit my face on somewhere on the gun, and it jammed my teeth through my lip. Not all the way through, just on the inside. Gave me a bloody fat lip. So any little surface of the gun would dig in, and that's when I really learned, like, when you're crawling around, you learn to crawl around really close to the ground. You need to be able to flip the gun upright and shoot. You don't want everything digging in constantly. So I do understand the thought process behind a lot of it, though. Like, people are using infrared lights quite a bit and making themselves a target. For any advanced military, I think infrared is just making you're just telling them right where to shoot. A lot of people use that alongside the night vision. I don't think it's the best way. There's a lot of things I don't like. Those people will probably get absolutely smoked by the thermal technology. I think people would be awfully surprised if they went up against thermal. Granted, with thermal, it's harder to read signage. It's harder to communicate using lights that others can't see. But if you're against any kind of advanced force, they're going to be able to see your infrared. So you're just signaling the bad guys. I think thermal is a very, very lethal option, personally. The whole tactical community is kind of wonky. Maybe I'm just weird, but I don't like to run a lot of what I see. I like to run a 1:6 or 1x8 scope with a red dot on top of the scope, and then a bipod on the front, and that's pretty much it. If I'm using it for a situation where I think would be indoors, if I'm using an ultra short barrel rifle, I'm probably going to plan to use that for an indoor scenario. Then you're going to want probably a pressure switch light on there, but other than that, I wouldn't run one. Anyways, guys, that's me rambling on about tactical stuff. Catch you on the next video. Peace.
His name is Racerred. If he wasn't riding, he'd be in bed. He naps during the day. He rides his love in garage bays. Oh, he rides all night, full throttle all the time. Oh, he was born to ride. Red Racer, like, comment, and subscribe.